Magic, if you're talking, you're on mute, friend.
Thank you, Mama. Yes, if yes, if you're not speaking like I was, then mute yourselves. All right, we get ready to go. We are live on Facebook stream. All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Magic D. I'm with Emergent Justice and President of PACT, that stands for Parent Advocacy for Children and Community Transformation. I'm currently in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and thank you all for taking time to gather virtually to celebrate the life of Cornelius Fredrick. With so much that is going on in the world that requires our attention, energy, and resources, you showing up today affirms that his experience and his truth mattered. The magnitude of his physical existence didn't stop in Detroit, Michigan or Kalamazoo, Michigan. Your presence and conversations and actions that are happening in future work affirms your commitment for justice within our juvenile welfare system. Well, at least one person on this call is celebrating a birthday. Happy born day to you. It is bittersweet that we celebrate Cornelius' life without his physical presence. Many of us did not personally know Cornelius, but we have connected with his compelling story that promote reflection, questioning, healing, collective actions, and legislative transformation. We have an opportunity today to hear from speakers that personally knew Cornelius and can share about his infectious smile. Youth organizers, advocates directly impacted, survivors, legislators, and community continue to say his name, Cornelius. We have a full agenda, and because each of us are coming in from our space of understanding, it is important that we ground ourselves in our collective intentions and making sure that we take care of ourselves. If you're not already inspired, before we part ways this evening, you will have opportunities to continue to elevate Cornelius' memory and demand changes that demand accountability and policies that transform the current landscape of juvenile justice as many of us experience or empathize with. I'm inspired and motivated by your resilience and how that shows up in your individual life and community. What you may hear this evening may bring out emotions and feelings that are real, and we want to honor that by offering a space within this virtual meeting that you could unpack or share in a breakout room with our healing practitioner tonight. I am grateful to be surrounded by community that go beyond the state of Michigan. There is so much work to be done. No justice, no peace. Can you all say with me that? No justice, no peace? No
No
justice, no
justice,
peace.
no
Justice,
peace.
No peace.
justice,
No
no
peace.
peace.
Justice, no
No
peace.
peace. No justice, no
Justice,
Oh,
no peace.
that was okay. Got the delayed effect going on there. Maybe we get our mics open one good time. Everybody open up their mics. We say no justice, no peace.
No
no
justice,
No
no
justice,
justice,
no
peace.
no
Justice,
peace.
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 No justice. No peace.
Gotta do like on the count of three or something.
Yeah, I think so. Here we go, y'all.
Yeah, I
On the
think we
count of
should go.
three. One, two, three. No
No
justice,
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 No
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 peace.
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 peace. Yeah. I think we'll go with that. How about that? Thank you so much. And just want to give a little bit about background history for folks that aren't familiar with the case. Uh, this time last year, Cornelius was a resident at Lakeside Academy, and earlier in the day was an incident that resulted in him going to the hospital where he later died. So on this day, we are remembering him in the days up until his death. So there be plenty of opportunities for you all to get acclimated if you're not sure on the history of Cornelius and some of the work that's already been done. So our timer, I like to do a little housekeeping, just lack of better words. This is a space that's created a bravery, not a love, not a respect for Cornelius and his family and the community and the staff that work with him. If for any reason anyone is feeling that they need to step outside the Zoom room, there is a breakout room that our health provider will be able to, our healing provider, Natalie, and she'll be introduced here shortly, but also to respect one another and to respect the differences and the experiences and trauma that we all come on this call and to listen openly and listen with an open heart. And if you have any questions, to put those in the chat box, either to myself, to T, or to IT, and we'll be able to assist you with that. I would like to identify our timekeeper, Charles.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Okay, so Charles, if you have the agenda, everyone has their time slot and the length of time that they're speaking. So it asks that you would have the timer set and that you keep us all on task. We got to get moving in our schedule.
Okay.
So if you signify how a person will know that their time is up, so all of our speakers will know.
Well, I was gonna put it in the box.
They may not be listening, so I don't know if you have something audible.
Well, my voice.
You have a timer that you can set. That's good too.
Yeah.
Don't want to cut anybody off while they're speaking. Do you have a timer for your on your alarm?
Actually, what I'm doing is I'm using this stopwatch right here.
Okay, I'm sure it has a timer, so we'll go with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, so we'll get you squared away. So Charles is our official timer, and our first speaker that we have up is Will. How you doing, Will?
I'm well, and yourself? How are you?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming on. And if you don't mind introducing yourself and telling everyone what your affiliation was with Cornelius, and then you can share your words.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is William White. I am from Detroit, Michigan. And I think that's all you wanted me to say when it comes to introduction, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. My relationship with Cornelius, I was his mentor. I actually was his youth care worker at Wolverine Human Services. I don't know, you guys might have seen a couple of the interviews I've done. I've done a couple on MSNBC, some with Vice News. I was on the Kalamazoo News twice, I want to say, and a couple of different things. However, me and Cornelius was extremely close. He was one of, we're not supposed to have favorites, but he was one of my favorites at Wolverine, and I his. And his death kind of shocked me a lot because it was actually in about 3 hours. In about 3 hours on this day last year is when I received a call that he had already passed. And so on this day, a year ago, I had already had the knowledge that he had passed, and then it was announced on May 1st that he was officially passed. It took me by storm. It hurt, and it meant a lot because I knew that what he experienced, he did not actually deserve, one. Two, I knew that when the story actually came out about what actually happened, it was like, this is just overkill at this point, and it was a lot for myself emotionally, especially it being during a global pandemic, and that's not even being able to actually be in arm's reach of each other. It hurt a lot. Me and Cornelius has had many crying sessions, laughing sessions, even sessions where we was mad at each other. We experienced a lot. We really had our own emotional roller coaster, and a couple of days. I want to say I had on May 5th, I want to say I had a memorial for him last year that I'm happy to share. I think we might be able to get a link where I can send it out so you guys can see some of the other young men who was in the facility with him at Wolverine, who got on the microphone and they got to talk about how great Cornelius was and how much he wanted to be loved and how loyal he was. It's unfortunate. I don't even know how to express how much it's unfortunate. I recently just lost my cousin, and the only thing that's making it worse is the simple fact that who I used to call my baby corn bands or maíz, which is Spanish for corn, is gone. I have his picture and a Justice for Cornelius sign hanging up in my room, and the rose from his memorial is still sitting on my dashboard, dried out and lifeless, but it's a piece of him that I'm just not willing to let go. And if I look up, I have a candle from the memorial last year because I understand that one, he'll live on forever in my heart. That was, like I said, that was my baby. But he'll live on 45 seconds, okay. He'll live on in the hearts of many, and it still deeply saddens me. I personally have yet to watch the actual video of what happened. In the recent interview that I did with MSNBC, they asked me if I watched it, and unfortunately, to this day, I still can't bring myself to see someone who was so filled with life and love and just had everything in the world for me in a smile be snuffed out on camera. So, but I do love him. I still love him. I'll forever love him. I look at his picture every day in my room, and I look at his rose on my dashboard every day because it reminds me that he's still with me. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Now we'll move on to our grounding exercise. I'd like to introduce Natalie Infinity.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me and for inviting me into this space. I am a healing facilitator based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm also a survivor of Spring Creek Lodge Academy from 2004. I've been participating in the movement since before they became big movements, I guess, and have become close with a lot of survivors, and the reality of what everyone has experienced has really created a sense of deeper empathy and unity that I didn't expect to find, and really has allowed me to offer my services to those within this realm. I'm here for anyone who may need to take a break and into the breakout room. I'm not exactly sure how to get there from here, but that's my role in all this. I have developed some mindfulness techniques combined with breathing exercises and mantras, I guess is a good word for it, for moments when our subconscious tends to go off the fritz from the things that we've been through, that people have done to us, the lies that have been fed into these children, and like myself, they grow up believing that they're unworthy and unlovable and things of that nature. And so I wanted to offer the gift of just some breathing exercises for us if anyone is interested in super simple work. So if you get to a feeling where you're having high anxiety, you're really feeling stressed, the idea is to take a deep inhale through your nose for about 6 seconds, really deep, and filling up your belly, holding for a second or two, and then blowing it out, just releasing all of it, like really hard. So that in itself, just doing that over and over again, is a grounding technique. So I'd like to just invite everybody to take three sessions of this. So count to 6, deep inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 1, exhale real hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. We're going to do that 2 more times. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 1. Exhale it all out. Push out that old stuff. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, one more time. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold 1. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This has helped me in moments where I'm feeling a panic attack. Come on. There's tapping exercises you can do as well. So you inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold. Exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then internal dialogues are super important to pay attention to. So I tend to, when I'm doing these breathing exercises, I tend to say things to myself like, I am deserving of the compassion that I was not shown when I was a child. I'm deserving of the love that I was not shown. And reiterating that over and over again to myself, it isn't faking it, it's real. It's somatic healing. And so I just wanted to thank you for giving me the space to share that, and just let anyone who is here know that I'm here for you in any way that you may need. And I see you all. And I have so much love and respect for you all. Seriously. Thank you, Magic.
Thank you, Natalie. And there is a breakout room that's been created. So if anyone needs to go in there with you, Natalie, that is set up. Just it should be self-select.
How do I get there?
I would have to put you there.
I see. Okay.
So I'll send word if we need additional support.
Okay. Excellent.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Willie Riddle Jr. He'll be speaking.
Hey, everybody, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Willie Riddle Jr. I was a resident at Lakeside in the summer of 2004. My adolescent life was kind of checkered. You know, I've been in a lot of these lots of these homes with these programs that they say are designed to put you on the straight path or help you get a grasp on life and what you want to do. And I'm not trying to send any personal shots at anybody that worked at Lakeside or any of those types of programs, but I feel like those programs weren't designed with, I guess they had the right intentions, but the execution was not there. I never got to meet Cornelius. And but when I watched the video several times, man, and I seen what they did to that boy, man, and that was, overkill and then some. And when I think back to my time being there, you always have the 1 or 2 staff members that are there, because they want to come there, they want to help the kids there, they want to help the kids get back to where they want to be. But then you got the majority of the staff members there who are just there because of the job. And I feel like in those type of programs, somebody should have been able to make an impact on me. And I can't even honestly remember none of the staff members' names there. I remember the nurse there cared about us, and the vice president, I remember his name. His name was Ed. And I don't know if he's still the president or whatever, but they show interest in progressing us. And but unfortunately, they weren't the people that were always in contact with us. So those efforts were kind of, little to none. It's unfortunate, man, that they put us in these programs, man, and people just forget about us. Like whether it's your family, whether it's the state, the government, whatever, it's like they throw you away to these programs and say, oh, well, those programs are designed to help you. But that's not the only thing that's going to help a young boy or a young girl who may be needing a program like that. It's more to help than 4 walls in a pamphlet. It's real unfortunate that they decided to use such force over to calm down a situation that, to me, was easily it could have been much more easily resolved than them laying on that boy. And we're here today, a year later, thinking about it, thinking about Cornelius, thinking about the rest of the kids that's in them programs that may not have lost their lives yet, but are enduring those things, enduring those restraints, enduring those harsh punishments, you know. So, you know, my prayers are with them. My prayers are with Cornelius's family, man. And I pray that, and I hope that, you know what I'm saying, they receive some type of comfort, some type of consolement, some type of justice for what has happened to the member of their family, their sons, their cousins, their, you know, who, however you were connected to this young man. The guy, Will, that was speaking first, he was connected to the young man in a different program or a different way, you know, and as he expressed, you know, it affects him, you know, he can't even watch the video because that's somebody that he knows, somebody that he loved dearly. And I don't know if I could watch a video of someone that I know personally getting their lives taken from them. Magic, I want to thank you for letting me come here and speak. You know, like I said, I didn't know Cornelius, but I've been there.
Thank you, Willie. You know, we appreciate you. A lot of us on this call did not know Cornelius, but that still doesn't take anything away from us fighting for justice for him. And also, I want to uplift what the media has shown is the end user of a system, and what needs to be focused on is the top portion of that. We dealing with lack of training, lack of understanding, and a top-heavy media that is only given part of the story. So again, there are victims, not just Cornelius's family, but there's also victims from the folks that have been charged, and they also need justice as well. So just wanted to uplift that. Right now we're going to segue into a message from Senator Gessler. She's a senator, and Miranda, you have to correct me if I slip up, a senator in Oregon. And we'll be hearing a message for her. So give me just a moment, and I will screen share so we can hear her message. Hold on, you guys. Let me turn the volume up. Oops. Hold on. Can you all hear that?
I can't hear any audio.
No.
Me either.
All right. I apologize, you all. I'm trying to keep the feedback from coming, so the video. So you all saying that you weren't able to hear the video?
No.
No. Here.
Could we do an only audio version of that? Would that be easier?
Hold on.
So sorry that.
I apologize, everyone. We're gonna go to our next speaker, Miranda, and I will get the video, the audio sorted out.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Awesome. If it's
Yeah,
okay,
I'm trying to
Magic.
mute everything, so we'll see. But thank you for that. I appreciate you all's patience. So Miranda, if you will go ahead and share out, we appreciate that.
Yeah, check your DMs. I just overloaded your DMs to make it super not stressful. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to Emergent Justice.
If you're speaking, you're muted.
I'm not muted. Can you hear?
You can hear her.
Okay, cool. I'm so impressed by the Kalamazoo community, and especially with Magic, the hearing circles that you had last year. I told her this privately. I do want to publicly apologize to all staff from these programs. I don't have a core compassion yet as a survivor, and working with you guys, with Megan, with Rachie, and those others have really changed my perspective on the situation. I still have a lot more to grow, but I do agree that we need to hold these giants responsible instead of scapegoating members of the community while they continue to thrive. And so while this whole situation didn't begin in Kalamazoo, I really do think that it could possibly end in Kalamazoo. Since the beginning of the United States, the US has had a predatory prevalence for mass for-profit legal child abduction, detainment, trafficking, abuse, and in cases like this, which are not so rare, murder. And so this really needs to be the end of that. And I think that this alliance and this coalition can be that. So if anyone is interested in working on any of the many projects like the impact legislation, either locally or federally, let's please all exchange information and really empower the local Kalamazoo community to be able to spearhead this for Cornelius. If you were a survivor or a staff from UHS or the Embark systems, there are hearings and testimonies going into both of those programs. So if you could help us to expose those situations, that would be incredibly helpful. We do have a lot of survivors like Natalie who are offering their services to the community. So Melanie, who will be speaking later, is a clinician and she's in Arizona. So if you or someone you know needs mental health support from someone who understands this in Arizona, definitely reach out. And if you or anyone you know was ever sexually abused in New York by anyone at any time, you have about 6 months left of a statute of limitations ban brought to you by your survivor community. And we really don't want anyone to miss out on that option. So please make sure you talk to everyone. And also, if you're in Missouri, then definitely connect with us. We're doing all that jazz. And I just, again, wanted to thank everyone in Magic. If you don't have any objections, I'd like to yield my time to Rachel, who was she worked with Corn at Wolverine as well.
Sure, no problem.
Hi. I was a youth care worker at Wolverine Center, Detroit. So I worked with Corn probably right after his mom died. I mean, I don't know exactly what to say. He was just an awesome kid. And we never had any issues with him at all. Like, he was very well behaved. He was really funny. He liked to joke a lot. He liked to play basketball a lot. He liked to make art. He was a really nice kid. And I mean, I did watch the video, and it was just horrible to see what they did to him. And I've heard that, they restrained him like 6 other times before they murdered him. And it just breaks my heart to think that, like, that's how he was treated until he was murdered. I'm just kind of disgusted by what happened to him. And he was a really caring, really loving kid, and he didn't deserve that at all. I'm not really sure what else to say. It disturbed me when I saw that video. It was just like traumatic. And I can't imagine what he went through. That's all.
Thank you, Rachel. If there's anyone that needs to take a moment, we have a breakout room set aside. Natalie is available if anyone needs to go there. I think I figured things out. I'm gonna have to use one machine. So we're going to move forward, and we're going to hear Senator Gessler's message. And again, definitely a heavy conversation today. So again, if you need anything, just reach out in the chat room. All right. Now I'm going to share my Senator Gessler's message.
Volume.
You turn the volume up a little bit more.
And remember the life of Cornelius Fredrick, and to also look to memorialize his legacy and his life by doing the work that is necessary.
Is everyone able to hear that? It's very, very low on my end.
Unusual.
Quiet.
Let's start over again without my headphones.
Hi, my name is Sarah Gelser. I'm a state senator from the state of Oregon. I'm so sorry that I cannot join you live today as we're in legislative session and I'm chairing a hearing as you are all meeting. But I am so glad that people from all across the country are taking time to stop, think, and gather and remember the life of Cornelius Fredrick, and to also look to memorialize his legacy and his life by doing the work that is necessary to keep kids safe. Sadly, what happened to Cornelius wasn't unusual. Kids experienced the types of restraints that Cornelius experienced a year ago every day in programs in almost every state in this country. Unfortunately, when kids tell us that this is happening to them, we often don't believe them, or our systems say that their behavior was such that that was the only answer to keep them safe. What the world saw through the case of Cornelius Fredrick is that often those dangerous behaviors aren't dangerous at all. They are just the behaviors of kids. Cornelius threw a piece of bread. When I watch the video, and I've watched it far too many times, one of the things that breaks my heart is to see the smile and the smirk on Cornelius's face before he tosses that bread for the very last time. He couldn't possibly have known what would happen next. It makes me worried for all of the children who are still there, who still live in facilities without adequate training, without adequate staffing, and without adequate regulation and oversight as it relates to appropriate support for children. We can make this better. We can make this better by believing youth when they tell us what's happening. We can make this better by investing in licensing and in oversight in every program across the country. We can make this better by investing in training and wages for staff that work with kids. And we can make this better by investing in community-based supports and reducing the frequency with which kids are sent away from their communities, their homes, and those that know them. There's nothing that we can do to bring Cornelius back. And there's nothing that we can do to undo the trauma of the thousands of youth who've experienced restraints like we saw with Cornelius, who have witnessed restraints like the children in that cafeteria witnessed that day. Nothing can undo that. But what we can do moving forward is collectively lift our voices to demand change and to remind everyone that these are children. They are youth who deserve care, compassion, and support. And that does not involve being tackled to the ground, having your breathing stopped because you threw a piece of bread. Thank you all for taking the time to be here today. And I hope that we will all do everything that's within the power of each of us to honor Cornelius's memory and to make our residential programs, our day treatment programs, our schools, all safer for kids by really addressing the inappropriate use of physical restraint and seclusion. Thank you so much for including me.
All right, and I want to thank Senator Gessler for that message, and thank you all for your patience with the technical difficulties. We know many of us are on Zoom calls all day, so thank you for your grace. We're going to move on in our program with our next speaker, Megan, a former staff member at Lakeside. If you'd like to open up your mic and share.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Magic, and thank you, everyone, for providing this space tonight. This is a heavy topic, something that, none of us ever want to address, but unfortunately, it's here. And it's something that we need to start pushing and calling out. So I could get into a lot of the crazy details of Lakeside, but I want to bring some light into the room. So I wanted to share one of my favorite stories of Cornelius. So I was his case manager when he first arrived at Lakeside until I became director of case management and then kind of oversaw all of the cases. And Cornelius was pretty quiet when he first got there, really shut off, didn't trust us, which was completely valid. Considering he had just come from Wolverine, which some of you knew him from. He had been bounced around and now was across the state with no family, no anybody else. So that in itself for a 14, 15-year-old is traumatic. So I wasn't expecting much, from him right away. And so trying to get to know Cornelius, finally got him a notebook and he really wanted to write his raps down. And so that was a kind of beginning of us getting to know each other and our friendship, and his raps were not necessarily appropriate, so I'll spare you that, but it was a way for him to express himself. And Cornelius was labeled as this big bully, not in school, didn't want to do this, and all these negative connotations that come with students who are in the system. Overall, Cornelius was a goofball. He was beyond smart and not textbook smart. I can say Cornelius wasn't passing these classes, but Cornelius would kick anybody's butt in chess, checkers, Connect Four, anything you wanted to challenge him at, he was going to beat you. And technology. That kid could figure out anything. And so anyways, to get to this, so one day, Cornelius kept hacking the school system. And this was not an easy task, but that just showed up. We're like, okay, this kid has some smarts, you know? And so we started to try and use his love for technology and that thing to get him to think about the future. You know, I wanted him to know that there was more for him to come. So the school uses computers, you know, they have these Chromebooks, things like that. And of course have certain sites that are blocked. And somehow Cornelius continued to get around them. Like we would change the Wi-Fi password constantly. And Cornelius would have it. I mean, and so there was one time where I was trying to connect the one of the PlayStations to the TV, and I didn't have the password. He goes, Miss Megan, he's like, I got you. And gave me the Wi-Fi password, which I, as a director, didn't even have. So that was Cornelius. I mean, he had so much potential and such a bright future ahead of him. And all in all, he needed love. He needed love, and he needed to know that he was accepted. And so the most that we can do for him moving forward is to not stop talking, and to not stop talking about Cornelius, but the system as a whole. This wasn't just Sequel. This is so many residential facilities. This is happening in your communities. This is happening in every state. And we need to use our voices to put pressure on our elected officials to do what's right. If we are going to be funding these places, then it better be funded right, and we better be protecting these students and not walking away with 6, 7, 8 figures in our pockets. So please continue to speak up. Thank you, survivors. Thank you for everyone that's spoken up tonight. Your voice matters.
And thank you, Megan. Appreciate you speaking. Now we're going to go to a video. Jackie Mitchell is going to share. So let me get that set up.
Good evening, folks. My name is Jackie Mitchell. I'm from Urban Exposure Initiative. I'm here to remind you today about a young man named Cornelius Fredrick, who passed away at Lakeside Academy last year this time, as of tomorrow. Through the process of all these hard things that are going on right now in our community, losing all these young brothers for no reason at all, through all of these treacherous acts and all of these ridiculous amounts of no accountability, to take care of yourself. May is Mental Health Month, and we all grieve. And so we need to make sure that in this process and in this time of May, that we take care of ourselves, not just May, but always. And always remember that mental health matters. Through the grieving process, we have to take the time to separate ourselves from the difficult things going around us and continue to take care of us. So you all have a good evening, and let's all grieve together in a way of solidarity for the lives of all these young brothers. But remember, our health matters too, and health is wealth. We're not going to get through none of this without taking care of ourselves. Peace and love. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you all. So we're going to go to our next speaker, Rebecca Ramon.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone, first of all, just for sharing the space with me and allowing me to be here. I personally did not know Cornelius Fredrick, but before I begin to share, I would like to just take a moment for, on the count of 3, for each of us to say his name, Cornelius Fredrick, 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Cornelius Fredrick. Cornelius Fredrick. Cornelius Fredrick. To me, it is so unbelievable that the whole world doesn't know Cornelius Fredrick's name. He was just a boy, and the way that his life was taken from him tragically is so unnecessary. And, you know, when this was all going down, I had a nephew in the juvenile justice system who had tried to reach out to me and tell me that he was being restrained in a facility as well. And I feel like Cornelius Frederick's life and death has really opened up so many other people's eyes. I suffered alone. A lot of times not even being able to share with my family or friends what I was going through. Friends from work, oftentimes just hiding because you feel so alienated when you have family members incarcerated or involved in these systems. And it's unnecessary and tragic. But like many of you have said before, I feel like this is the time to end this now, because this is not the only, this is continuing. It continues. And without us to continue to bring awareness to Cornelius's life and what he had gone through, we can't bring the kind of change that we want. Again, it's astonishing to me how the whole world doesn't know his story and how every single facility, it hasn't been shut down. In my opinion, every single facility needs to be shut down. Children need to be with families. Children need to be with communities, with that type of community-based support. They need the love. They need compassion. And what this tragedy has shown is that we have allowed people to cage our children like animals. And there's just no room for that here in America. Children are not animals, and it doesn't matter what their background is. There is another way. There's a better solution, and it's going to take people like us that care about it to make it happen, because we do not need to tolerate it. We do not. There's absolutely no excuse. You know, he was a bright young boy like most children are. And again, you know, this just goes to show, like, people just want jobs, and we can't accept that. And I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to be here. And before I sign off, I would like, again, for us to all say his name on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Cornelius Fredrick.
Cornelius Fredrick.
Cornelius
Cornelius
Fredrick.
Fredrick.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Rebecca. We appreciate you so much. Now we're going to go to our next speaker, Melanie.
Hi, everybody. My name is Melanie Friedman, and I am a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Arizona. I currently work as a therapist in Mesa. My specialties are post-traumatic stress disorder, chronic stress, complex stress disorder, and cult recovery and spiritual abuse. In my opinion, my professional and personal opinion, the troubled teen industry falls under the cult umbrella due to the tactics that these places use to abuse children. If you don't mind, I'm just going to read what I presented because public speaking is a phobia of mine. So while I am a professional, I do not come here to you today as one. I'm coming here today as a survivor and as a mother of an amazing, bright, funny, and very special little guy whom myself and my husband adopted from foster care last year. Well, I feel a great sense of loss with every loss in the TTI. The case of Cornelius Fredrick, who's better known as Corn, has hit very close to home for me. First off, I am Corn. Around March of 1998, I was sent to the Family Foundation School in Hancock, New York. I was 17 and entered the family with PTSD and severe depression. I'm not going to go through my story. Obviously, there's no time, but fast forward 7 months, I decided that I was going to give in to what they wanted of me just so that the abuse would stop. And I knocked over a couple plates. because they told me that I wasn't doing good enough, just like innocent corn threw a little sandwich piece. I knocked over a plate. I immediately went into fight or flight because I knew what was going to happen to me. I was about to get restrained, wrapped up in a blanket with duct tape, and thrown in a janitor closet for however long they decided to leave me there, with no access to bathroom, food, or water. So I knocked over a plate. I went into fight or flight. I ran out the door. 5 of my peers were instructed to follow me, and a staff member that was not in my family, it was set up like families, came after me. I was quickly tackled to the ground and piled on top of, and a staff member put his hand over my face and my nose and suffocated me. And I don't remember anything else. I just remember completely blacking out. Luckily, at some point, I was seen by a doctor, and I was quickly kicked out for being too troubled, I guess you could say. So just the fact, I saw the video of what happened to Corn, and I'm absolutely disgusted. He looked like he was having fun. He was being a child. He was trying to have fun, despite some of the struggles he had faced, and he was murdered for it. My son is Corn. Okay, I adopted a kid from the family, from the foster system, and he could have easily, just like so many other children like Cornelius, ended up in a facility like that. We're all the parents of Corn because he was a foster child, and it is our job as his guardians to make sure that he is taken care of, and he was not taken care of. I apologize. This death has really hit me hard. So his death is just a tragic message to us all. But we also have to remember the people that are coming out of these facilities. I left with absolute psychological torment. And I know some former member of Lakeside had talked about the struggles that he had faced so bravely. Thank you for that. I was able to find my solace in finding out what happened to me. And that was learning about the cult world and about how these facilities break down the kids that they are in charge of to change their behavior. And it only further damages. So it is just my plea to the community that we have got to get this to stop. There has to be complete and utter reform and dismantling of this system. I apologize for the shaky voice. Thank you all so much for your time. And I just want to say, rest easy, sweet Cornelius. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie, for sharing your experience and sharing your words with us. Next, we have a performance from a local artist that spoke earlier. Early in the Morning is his stage name. He's on as Willie. So Willie, do you want to set the song up, or do you want me to play it first? Or how you want to do it? You want me to play the song first, or you want to introduce it and share your inspiration about it?
Take your life from right there. Okay. So I don't know if people been noticing, but I don't really think we got a choice but to notice. The amount of violence in Kalamazoo's Black communities has, like, maybe it was tripping, but to me it seemed like it done jumped since I was a teenager. You know, I'm 30 years old, and it's just crazy to me, man, how as a community we can't seem to figure out a different way to resolve conflict other than shooting somebody. So I heard the beat, and this was about last year September time, and it just took it out of me. And a friend of mine, a lot of y'all might know him as Blaine Burnett, but he's in a group called PS Gang, and he provided the chorus for me, and we put it together, and it's called Reason. So hope y'all enjoy it.
Thank you.
really never did drugs. Face slaps, yeah, I never got hugs. I had people back, but my backs they shoved, and they wonder why my circle tighter than a small glove. These goofies got me misconstrued. Another young brother been shot. It ain't make the news. Even when we stayed in unity, they greet with booze. Mad at our athletes for the messages on their shoes, but they just giving you clues. What you expecting them to do? Cause they making money? They can't comment on the news. You think that they can't feel pain cause they not in them shoes. Not realizing that most of them came up with the same blues, but in the same sense. Why we hurting ourselves? We be each other's helpers like Santa Claus and his elves. I don't brag about my strap, I'm leaving it on the shelf unless a goofy individual make me protect myself. Oh, too many mothers cry, cause they babies dying and we can't lose another one to somebody help us find our way. R.I.P. to the K2 victims of gun violence. Speak up to my brothers living their pain in silence. See, nowadays it's hard for us men to keep trying. For my sisters, my brodies, we gotta keep thriving. Nights filled with marijuana and deep science. We gotta stop making all these statements one-sided. Somebody care till you attacking their image dying. So make sure that you telling facts and not lying. Breakups, they are not the same. Rumors and destruction, they surrounding my name. Trying to make a miracle out of strife and pain. Big blunt rolled up, introduced to the flame. It's one thing to lose it, but to have your love stolen. Young souls laid out, bullet holes wide open. Conflict resolution need to change, I'm hoping. Black communities need repair, can't you see we all broken? Oh, too many mothers cry, cause they babies dying and we can't lose another one today. Somebody help us find our way.
Early in the morning, featuring Kid K-Zoo and Blame from PS. Gang, that's what's up.
Yeah, that song. I was just responding to the messages. I haven't released that song yet. I always let Magic get some of my exclusives. You know, 'cause magic is magic. So, but that song will be dropping soon. I'm gonna put my link for my Spotify page or my Spotify channel and my YouTube channel in the comments. So hopefully y'all enjoy some of my other music. I got a lot of different things on there.
All right. Thank you, Early. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
So
yeah, we really like that.
Awesome.
Yeah, go ahead and give him his praise.
That was really great music, dude. Love it. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, he has this vibe. I pretty much like all the stuff. Like all his
Okay.
stuff. Just has this flow I just love. It's his style. But yeah, appreciate you. So now I know we've gone through a lot of speakers. We appreciate all of you. And we are behind a little bit, but we're going to keep things moving. Now I'm going to switch it over to Natalie to let her do her part so I get myself queued up.
Willie, that was like straight to my guts, man. That hit me in the heart hard. And I just feel like the messages from survivors are so real. If many can get to a point where they can speak their truth, it really is impactful on such a soul level. And it really was, man. It was awesome. So I am kind of just feeling like I want to say thank you to everybody who's making this effort to create reform. I want to see so many of these places shut down and not have the opportunity to reopen again under a different name. And to create the.
I can barely hear you. Sorry.
Am I too quiet? Hello?
I can hear you fine. You sound perfect.
You are a little bit quiet.
Just a little.
Just a little.
Okay.
You just spoke like you were speaking to an audience. I think it'll work.
Yes, I'm trying. I feel very personal and close to everybody right now, but I'll get a little closer. So I just want to address the survivors and just say, like, please remind yourself of how incredibly rare that you are. And to have this empathy, because we go through what we've gone through and you come out still with your empathy intact, you're a superhero. And I think that not a single kid got put into these places that deserved it. There's always a better option. Not abandoning kids when they're in their kids is first and foremost. And so when you lay in bed at night and you're afraid to go to sleep and you have the sleep insomnia that we all deal with, I would really like to encourage everyone to drop down into that place where you were a kid again and really, really imagine like you're giving yourself a big hug and like really loving that part of yourself that feels abandoned and like at any moment you're going to be attacked again, because this is this is the reoccurring theme that I see happening. Is this internalized shame that's caused this like internal fragmentation and like self-hate that is literally programmed into us. Like the lady was saying earlier, it was literally cult tactics, and we have to have compassion with ourselves. We ended up in a place beyond our control. We were helpless children then, and we're not helpless children now. And it's really hard to find others who we can trust and who we can be like, yeah, you get me. But now we're in this space and we have found each other. Like I just really, really, I wish I had more time and personable interaction with more people, but this is just a moment that is so holy and full of grief because of recognizing Cornelius and the representation. Like he's the representation of all of us who've been through this, and I suppose that I am just wanting to say that if you've internalized that bullshit, that it's not a life term, even though it feels that way. Sometimes you're much more capable of healing and growth than we were ever made to believe was possible.
Thank you. The breakout room is available if anyone needs to go there. Right now we're going to keep it moving. We're going to hear from a couple of our organizations. We're going to hear from Adam.
Hello, everybody. I'm with Emerging Justice. I also would like to give it up to the survivors of these facilities. Before I say what I'm saying, I would just like to say that in order to reverse some of the things that we have going on, I think we have to input that bias in our youth so that all this evilness and things like that can flow maybe out of us, not completely, but
We lost you. We lost your audio. Is it just me?
No, it's gone.
Can't hear him.
We lost him. No, I can't
Oh,
hear
yeah,
him.
Adam.
Can't hear.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, I would like to say, we here at Emergent Justice, our mission is to transform the criminal justice system to end mass incarceration. And our vision is to use the community to organize approaches that would empower impacted multi-generational, I'm reading a little bit and ad-libbing, but multi-generational BIPOC people who are being traumatized by racial injustice, and also create a culture of unity, hope, and resilience. And once again, I would like to give a shout out to all the survivors that's on the call, and I hope you keep on surviving. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hear from Diamond?
Hey, everybody, can you hear me? Well, I know you can hear me. We might have a potential survivor upstairs. But my name is Diamond. I'm a member of PACT. And I just wanted to briefly give you a quick overview of what that is. It stands for Promise Advocacy for Children and Community Transformation. And what that basically is a group of people, educators, parents, and community leaders that have come together to change the status quo. I'd be remiss to say that Cornelius was not a victim of the school to prison pipeline, which is basically what PACT is addressing. And I would like you to think of PACT as like a voice for those people. We do that by direct action, that being attending school board meetings, forums, educating the public, letting them know about events that are coming up, just keeping people informed about the school to prison pipeline, about our young people being criminalized like Cornelius was, and being pushed into the system. And one thing in particular I did notice about his case, which I wasn't really informed of too much before now, he was an orphan. He had no mom. His father was incarcerated. He was yanked from his siblings. He was put into a system and surrounded by strangers. And we all have seen the videos of what that came out to be. But again, PACT is here to change the status quo, to hold people accountable for what happened to him. And we do that by holding their feet to the fire, by having these direct actions, by getting involved, changing policies, speaking up and helping the parents and the families that are affected by these tragedies, like the one that happened with Cornelius. I'm a single mother of 5. I have three older sons, 3 sons of color who are statistically more likely just to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and perhaps end up in situations similar to his. I was appalled by the video that I saw, and I'm trying to keep it light and not emotional. But I would like to end it by saying, though this is a memorial and we do want to push out the narrative of what happened to him, I do want to continue to celebrate his life and to lighten up in a way of saying that he spoke for a lot of children in his passing. Cornelius Fredrick will save people because now we've opened up the conversation to have these dealings and these Zooms and these memorials. But let's also make sure we celebrate who he was as a kid, because he is the kid that we're trying to save. We're trying to save the kids that laughed, that joked, that were good with technology, the kids that walked into a room and kind of brighten your day. I've heard so many good things about him. And I just want us to continue to push that narrative as well as putting things in line with the system to make sure we can bring change to stop criminalizing our students. And one thing I wanted to read that I wanted to make people aware of before my time is up is, if you're not wary of the theory of deviance, what it is it's a labeling theory. And it's what psychologists use to grade children. And the definition is people come to identify and behave in ways that reflect how others label them. So if we continue to put our kids in these situations and in these institutions, they tend to mimic what we label them to be, deviants, troubled children. That's not what they are. They're Corneliuses. They're kids that are surviving trauma that need us to advocate and help them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mama. Powerful.
I know that we are, I'm sorry, this is Tanya, I'm breaking in. I know that we are running short or we're running a little bit behind. Do we have time to run a slideshow? Do we want to do that at another point?
I got a couple more messages from some of our supporters. If you all want to hear some more, we definitely have some more powerful messages. So I think we can hold off on that. Take a vote on that.
Not a problem.
Thumbs up. All right. So we are going to hear from Rusty Diamond. Let me get ready to share my screen. Oh, just a second, please. Make this big.
Hi, I'm Nicole Hutchison in Dallas, Texas. I'm here today with my organization, the Rusty.
Sorry. Let me stop that.
Hi, I'm Nicole Hutchison in Dallas.
All right, Nicole, I need you to wait just a second. Let me share my screen with everybody. All right, there we go.
Nicole Hutchison in Dallas, Texas. I'm here today with my organization, the Rusty Diamond Network, and I'm just so grateful to be here to honor and celebrate the legacy of Cornelius. His story is one that tragically I can relate to so well. I myself was institutionalized when I was a child, about 3 years, and I was in Provo Canyon School. And after that experience, and as I got older, I didn't get help for my mental health. And for many years, just did what I could to basically get by. And it tragically culminated into a collateral consequence that led me straight into prison. And many people were hurt. It has been such an experience to hear stories like Cornelius, that all these years later, even 20 years after I had been institutionalized as a child, that families are still being torn apart, that these facilities are still operating as they did back when I was in Provo Canyon just 20 years ago. And tragically seeing that Cornelius, his father, is in prison while he learns about what happens to his son, and that his sisters are also institutionalized. So we have a family here that is torn apart and is not together and doesn't have that unification in that community. And I know that for me and what I do now and what Rusty Diamond Network, which I created when I myself went into the prison system and realized that there was a common theme amongst both myself and the women that I met on that journey. And it was trauma, and it was mental health. And there were so many things that united us in that. And at that point, it became clear that in order to lead a meaningful life and one that would make the right choices, that trauma and those things that I had experienced in my childhood had to be reckoned with and had to finally deal with those things, or those were continuing to cycle. And that mental health was the most important thing that had to change, or nothing else ever would. And my family would be torn apart, as would others, and those consequences would continue. I'm just so grateful that we can share our stories. Sometimes they're tragic, and it's so painful and hurtful to those that might hear them or be experiencing them. And I just hope that collectively, through sharing those stories and what we can do different, how we can do things better, how we can reunite families, and now with what I do with Rusty Diamond in helping reunite women when they come out of prison, helping them with doing their best time while they're actually incarcerated, and paying that forward and leaving a better legacy and changing that course.
will hopefully do that as we look at our legislation and what laws and regulations we have in place that can help us to also audit and regulate so that these things that start very early on in our childhood that we carry through into our adult lives also are so impacted. So thank you for coming together today, allowing me to share a few minutes. And my hearts and prayers go out to Cornelius and his family. And I'm just grateful that everyone's getting together collectively to honor and celebrate him. And my blessings to you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have one more video, a short
This is exciting because for the first
intro.
time anywhere, right here on our
So I had some Bruno Mars going on in the background. I'm sure you wouldn't mind hearing that, but that's not what we're wanting to hear right now. So we're going to hear from Kayla. She's going to be introducing our next speaker, a young man that was a resident at Lakeside. So this is going to be disjointed because I'm having to share two different videos and shut it off.
Hey guys, it's Kayla. I wanted to share with you guys a sneak peek to a Far West film production documentary that I'm involved with. So without further ado, this is my foster brother, Elijah.
All right, now I'm going to share his video.
I was born in Long Beach, California. I love the SoCal scene. I ended up at Lakeside though because of my behavioral issues, but it stemmed from something that was far more tragic than anything else. But to be taken out of the state, to be taken away from your family, to be taken away from your loved ones, to be taken away from your friends, relationships, whatever that is, to be taken away from that and knowing you won't see that for a long time, it destroys you. It crumbles you, makes you feel like nothing. Makes you feel like all your rights are taken away, like you're just a slave, like, oh, they can just ship you away. Like that's not cool. That's not cool at all because like how am my family gonna come see me? How is anybody gonna come be there for me? How is anybody gonna understand me? They've seen that I was just hurting and in pain. I miss my mom, of course. Like I'm in Michigan, my mom's in California. My mom literally moved to Arizona for me because I wanted to go to university out there, but Lakeside stopped that from happening and let me be there for years. I could have been going to a high school in Arizona with my mom and been fine because she had a place out there ready for me and she had everything stable, but they never let me go back with her. And it's just like she had all this proof. She kept going to court for me and they never let me go back. They never let me go back. I don't think a kid is born with behavior problems. It develops over time from things you've been through or from things you learn from your parents or whoever you're around, I guess. I mean, my mom, she had problems with men sometimes. And she had drug problems, of course. My dad was never really around. My mom's doing much better now, living life. And I don't know when I'll lose my mom. And like I feel like that's the only person I have left. And that's the person I can depend on.
Wow. So how's everybody feeling? Yeah. So I know we are running over a little bit. We wanted to set some time for folks if they had questions to ask that of all the experts, everyone on this panel, regardless if you're a professional or you were a survivor, you are an expert. I see that Natalie, maybe if you have some words, maybe to share with folks, that was definitely a moving video that was shared, and there's definitely some pain.
Proud of you, first of all, for being so I spoke with Kayla not too long ago on the phone and got to know her a little bit more personally. And I just have to say, Kayla, you're my hero. You're one of my heroes for sure. And I'm so proud of you for speaking your truth, because what happens when we choose to do the incredibly terrifying thing of revealing our truth is it creates a ripple effect, and it does inspire those who we don't even know. And that's how I've ended up here with you all today. Like every single person that's here, especially ex-staff members, people who are really putting forth effort to change regulation and create real, like we need people in there who understand how to work with trauma, who are trauma informed. And that is one of the biggest problems that I've had personally as well, is finding mentors for me that have been trauma informed. And I've had to go to people who are not even in my proximity. And so my hope in the future is that every single person that is hired at these facilities is a trauma informed, has gone through some sort of trauma informed treatments of therapy to be able to offer these kids, because there's not a single one of us who went in there that didn't end up there because we were bad. We ended up there because we were really hurt every time. And the stigma that we were troubled kids and bad kids is what's kept us silent. So everyone's very, very brave, and that does not exclude fear. There's courage with fear, and I am so grateful for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
We are going to push through some things. So we did have a slideshow that had some beautiful pictures of Cornelius and his smile. We want to share that with you, but we also want to honor the folks' time on here with your evening, but also want to leave it open if you are open to staying on a little bit longer. If you have questions that you would like to ask of staff or of anyone that has presented, Miranda. I know there's definitely some other things that we'd like to share. We definitely have some action items for you all before you leave out this evening. So yeah, if you check the chat, there is information that Miranda is sharing in there as well. I know, again, a lot of heavy conversation, so I think at this point, to kind of lighten things up, I think it would be appropriate to go ahead and share that slideshow to see some of Cornelius in action. So T, if you can share your screen, that'd be appreciated.
Will do. I'm getting there. It's going to take me just a second to pull it up.
I see all the...
Can you guys see it okay?
Yes.
Awesome. I don't have any music to it. I thought maybe that would be you.
I guess I can, if anyone on the staff just kind of want to like chime in, if any of you are like familiar with any of these pictures. I know Megan, you shared pictures with us. That was awesome.
those last two pictures, I remember those pictures mainly because one of them was taken by me. And then this current picture that was just on that last slide, that one was at Ace Academy Riverbend at the school that he attended when he was at Wolverine.
No, we have not forgotten.
That is all of it. It will just loop at this point. I can slow it down and keep it going while y'all talk, or I can actually put a link to the slides in the chat also.
No, I think that a link would be appropriate. Miranda, do you want to go ahead and do you want to move forward with the panel, or are we good with sharing information in the chat box?
I think it's been a lot for everybody. Do any members of the community have questions for any of the staff or survivors, or do you guys just want to kind of focus on the community action items?
All right, fight.
Okay, so I'm just going to pose the questions that I would have had for a couple people. Rebecca, thank you for sharing. As someone who had family institutionalized within the system, we know that we need to work on more community-focused options. Are any of you out there, are there any ideas that you have for the impact team as asks that we can ask for our community-centered options with these kids? Or can we just open that conversation as something that evolves moving forward?
I guess, I mean, in my opinion, I'm thinking about my own personal experience with my nephew in the juvenile justice system and how they basically told us he couldn't make progress. And once legal action was starting to take place, he all of a sudden was out. And the courts kept stressing how there was this opportunity for him coming home and getting care closer to home so he can have family, because he was so far that up north in Escanaba that nobody could get to him to visit. And it sounded nice in theory, but I've never actually seen it in action. And I'd like for people to open this up so that we can actually see it. And since my nephew's been home, I've been excluded from any of his care. In fact, I was threatened by his guardian that if I was to come to see him, that I would have the cops called on me. So so this is traumatizing me even more. And this, because my nephew was neglected, and my father, that was his real parent, died of cancer. So he doesn't have anyone that he considers his real parent. He's stuck with the people that have neglected him and abused him. And I can't even be involved in his rehabilitation or whatever you want to call it. And he's suffering and he's hurt just as bad as he was when he went in there, and there hasn't been any resolve. And yeah, I want the community to be involved, whether it's organizations like in my hometown, Battle Creek, we have Summit Point, there should be family therapy where, if there is a guardian that isn't blood related to the other family members, but it should be mandatory that both sides of the family work together, regardless if they're blood related or not. I mean, I'm his aunt, and I'm the closest thing he has to my dad, so I just wanted to share that in hopes that we can see more community-based with family involved with, all of this care for children that are in these systems so that they can be removed, because they do need love. They are hurt. They do need compassion. And a lot of these facilities are no-touch facilities. But how can a child that needs love and compassion heal and rehabilitate or improve if they're not even given the basic needs of love and compassion and being held and hugged, instead being beaten and restrained? So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Is everyone in contact with PACT and Emergent Justice? Because I know we're in Dallas. and we want to make sure that we're empowering the local community. So I'm hoping, especially with you, Rebecca, that you are in contact with them, because we need to, I think that we can have this conversation and move forward on that. Per staff, we've talked a lot about legislation, and there's a lot of legislation recently that locally in certain states it's given the kids access to CPS or some sort of hotline, so that they can make allegations. There's certain states that are allowing them unmonitored phone calls for the first time in 60 years. But for staff, I've spoken with a lot of you actually, and I put it in the chat box. Check out Megan and our anonymous Lakeside staffers interview on Troubled. But what do we need to ask for staff to create a safe whistleblower relationship? Because every SQL employee that I've spoken with did report the abuses. They reported it up the chain of command to the state and directly to CPS, and we still had nothing happen. So I don't know if any of the staff have an idea off the top of our heads, or if that's a conversation, again, we need to evolve in the impact groups.
Thank you.
I can touch on that real quick. A couple weeks ago, I sat in on a city council meeting for Philadelphia, and they are in the process of getting like an ombudsman person that is separate from the state. So they're trying to have an entity that anonymous calls can be called into by students, by staff, by family, you know, whoever, and actually remain anonymous. Because one of the biggest things, especially at Lakeside, was that if you called in, everyone was going to know about it. And then you were, you know, the bad guy, even though you were trying to protect the children. And so I know that's a lot of the situations at other facilities as well. We even had parents who were calling in, but, you know, they weren't there. And the state, in a backwards way, wants the kids, you know, to be in these facilities. So of course they don't want to see that these things are happening. So many cases that we knew were true were being closed because they didn't have anywhere else to put 126 kids. So there needs to be somehow an outlet that can partner with the state and is certified with the state or whatever, but is not directly under the state umbrella. So how we get that going, I'm not sure, but I'm sure that we can figure it out, you know, together as a community. Because staff, we're at a rock and a hard place. You want to lose your job and not be there for the kids, or you just keep your mouth shut, you know? So there needs to be a safer outlet for any of these calls to go into.
I feel like you know, obviously a lot of the things that we've seen as far as movement and justice, social justice, reform is like a lot of these cases are made because we have that hard evidence of video. And I'd like to see more of those videos coming from the inside of members of the facilities. So like if there's whistleblowing, like why does it have to be internally? Because those options usually aren't protected, you know, and you do end up losing your job. Like pretty much in any situation when you're working for an organization and you're doing whistleblowing, you're going to get caught. So the question becomes, how do you, you know, just blow the whistle louder and so the action is faster. But we have, I mean, there's cameras in these facilities all the time, but I feel like if there's ways that we can get the law to agree to having, there's got to be a way that we know what's going on in these facilities all the time.
Right. Rebecca, there are cameras everywhere, but definitely not enough. There are always places that staff can take youth to unfortunately still abuse them. I think another huge part is that it crosses, the way they're getting around a lot of it is that they're a private agency. So unless someone is called in by the state, they don't have to release video. They don't have to, you know, so at any point in time, they can say, oh no, this didn't happen, which is really how they kept all of us quiet. By stating, oh no, we watched the video, that didn't happen, you know? So unless CPS, someone was actually contacted and got to the video before something may or may not happen, that's difficult. But I do agree that if the state is paying and parents are letting their, you know, are still guardians, anyone should be able to access the video have phone call, like nothing should be restricted. And that comes in with the oversight that we need to push our elected officials to do. So yeah.
Awesome.
Things that was put in the chat is NJJN, one of the national top brass organizations that came out with a campaign last year, online campaign, and they are working on, they're still continuing to work with justice and transformation of policies around restraint and seclusion. So in the chat box, I put that in there so there's more information about demands that they're asking from stateside, but that's still not enough. There is one to have that demand, but it's also one to like push and make that change happen in legislation. So that's kind of like where we're here. We have this conversation going on. Lansing, our respective legislators, they know what's going on in the state. It's a matter of informing us, getting us more activated, creating brave spaces like this in order for us to push for the transformation that we need with the juvenile welfare system. I'm not going to say it's justice because it's not. Yes, if you could bring up some of the things that we're, Miranda, that we were talking about earlier, how we can connect this not only with sharing our stories, but how we connect that with art.
So as some of you may know, Cornelius does make a cameo on a mural to deal with the disproportionate and deliberate targeting of people of color within our community by the system, which has, just to put this into context, I saw a couple people asking about like what survivors are. When I mentioned earlier that this began in assimilation, remember that the first institutional schools were government and church funded for the indigenous. And still we have trouble teen facilities where 52% of the population are indigenous today in the United States of America. We have counties in Canada where 90% of the children in foster care are indigenous. They have birth alerts in Canada, and we're getting states now here, Missouri included, which is putting birth alerts for people who had mental health issues or addiction issues or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know where that came from, but anyways, so the mural, there is an artist that Magic, who did the mural before. Yeah. So I don't know if we've gotten approval from her, but if not, I think we'd like to open the mural opportunity to other local artists and see what their ideas would be for Cornelius. And hopefully we can inspire artists around the country. And this is something we can work together on because a lot of us know how to activate art projects and things like this, grassroots wise, and get them going in every state. Everyone has lost, every town has lost someone in this way. And so we need to, like, as we're uplifting this specific young man, and we'll be working with him forever. Also, there's been conversations about a scholarship for him. Listen, the reality is if we had scholarships for foster children, the money that they paid for Corn to go to this facility, he could have gone to Choate, honest to God. We could have funded this kid to go to an incredible elite school. And it sounds like he was smart enough to do so. So honestly, we need to put our money where our mouth is. All these people who want to give us money to rescue dogs or have a charity dinner, how about we set up a scholarship and we can use the mural to raise awareness and to activate the larger community. Impact legislation locally and federally to end restraint and seclusion in Cornelius Fredrick's name. I think it needs to be him. I think that he needs to be an ambassador, if you will, for everything that's happened over the last century of colonization in this country. And I think that we need to make sure that we're supporting, again, these Kalamazoo groups, PACT and Emergent Justice, to, this is their responsibility. As I've spoken with all of you, you guys carry the burden of what happened here. And so the rest of the community is our responsibility to help them in holding that and transforming that into some sort of a gift. So we've got legislation options, mural options. Let's get some scholarships in his name for foster kids. And hopefully we can extend our mental health services, which we don't have anybody in Michigan, but if there's people in Arizona that need Melanie, there you go.
Thank you, Miranda. And I see we have some hands up. Rachel?
I just wanted to touch on the previous subject. I personally think these kids should have their own cell phones because they have no access to contacting the outside world, at least at Wolverine Center. they had no way to tell somebody if something was going on, and everything was reported internally. So they would report a grievance to the Wolverine Center, and it wouldn't really go anywhere even when things did happen. I think if they had their own cell phones, which most teenagers do anyway, it would make it a lot easier for them to report things.
Yes, well, I second that emotion for sure.
If I may chime in on that aspect, so ideally we would want them to have cell phones, right? Well, I don't work in that field anymore. I work for Southwest Solutions, which is kind of the front door for homelessness in the city of Detroit. So that's what I currently do now. But in that field, ideally, we would want for them to have phones. But some, not saying that all cases are the same, but generally speaking, most times we have children who, if they do have phones, get connected to like the wrong things or contact the wrong people. So even with myself, when I was working at Wolverine, there were two separate clients who did this, and I've only seen it twice, but who was able to sneak a phone in, right? Got into it with another kid, called a family member, and now we're dealing with a bunch of family members that are outside of the facility trying to attack a kid. Not a staff did something to him, but a kid. Like something was done to a kid by another kid, and now we have this big old family that's outside that want to attack a kid. So although it sounds appropriate for them to have phone, but there are some times where things happen that actually it's like, well, this is a good reason why they don't have phones. And then just to bring about another situation at hand where a young man, he kind of went off the deep end emotionally when he found out that his cousin was killed because he had a phone and he just so happened to be connected to social media, and he saw that his cousin had passed. And after being able to go, and because he went AWOL, but we were able to talk him back to come into the building or whatever. Whenever a kid, well, I don't know how it is at every other facility, but whenever a kid AWOLs, the supervisor on duty is supposed to contact the on-site case manager as well as their DHS worker. And so in doing that, this particular kid, I was informed, because it happened on one of my shifts one night, but I was informed that that morning the DHS worker had already scheduled a pickup to come pick him up to let him know that his close cousin had passed. And so ideally it is, we want them to have phones so that they can be able to reach out to their family members when needed if something goes on. But we do also have that other end of things that happen with having a phone in the facility and the things that, get brought in on that. So it's like I'm 50-50, just because I know the successes that can come from having a phone, but I also know the dangers that happen, even with like parents' rights being terminated, for, neglect and abuse. And they're not supposed to have any type of contact with the kid. And then they call the kid, and now they know where the kid is, and they can schedule some time to be out there in the park to catch the kid when the kid's going to the basketball court or something like that. So it's like there are some pros, but there are also cons that are like life-threatening. They're like life-threatening pros and cons to both sides. So I just wanted to share that piece.
Thank you, Will. We have a few more questions. I see Melanie, Diamond, and T.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to touch on the phone thing. I 100% agree with what you're saying, William. Very early into my career, I worked in residential for kids that were like self-harming, basically. And it was part of our culture. I think a huge problem is the culture of these facilities. It was part of our culture that we had to follow certain laws. And I was working in the state of New Jersey. And one of those rules or laws was that there was a accessible phone for the kids. And if at any point they said, I need to call like DCS or a lawyer or whoever, any type of person to represent them, it was not a question. It didn't matter if they were going to, say something about me that I know I didn't do. It absolutely did not matter. They had access to that phone to call for child support service, DCS, at any time that they needed it. And I think what we really need to work on is the culture of these facilities too, because you got a lot of people in power that are not doing what is in best interest of the kids, and it trickles down to the entry level staff. So it starts at the top and it's got to trickle down to the bottom.
Thank you, Melanie. Diamond?
Awareness, awareness, awareness. Again, holding people's feet to the fire. I do think that there's an amount of transparency that isn't shared with these organizations and with these facilities. And that as a community, we were just made aware. In the case of Cornelius himself, as I was doing some in-depth reading, it was very, very, very clear that there were several regulation violations that had been duly noted, that the amount of restraining that had been happening continued to rise as time came on, right prior to his passing. So if we can make more people aware of the situation, I feel that again, I agree with Miranda and her company that it is a relatable situation, and that by pushing that narrative for everyone to hear and using him as that, I don't want to say martyr, but as the face of that, people can relate to that. And by making them aware, they can apply that pressure. And just by knowing what's going on, finding out how we have access to the information that we should have. It is, our kids are shipped there. There were kids shipped from Tennessee, Iowa, all over the place there. I think I read in Tennessee, they were getting paid like $427 a day just to ship a child there. So it is in their best interest to keep things, secret. It's very difficult to be a whistleblower and to have that burden on you when you have a livelihood and you know that there's a risk of you not being able to support your family, even though you know something's going on. So by having the community be aware of it, applying that pressure, having access to what's going on in the facility, therefore being able to tag things as they're happening, to stop the Corneliuses from happening before they do. That was all I was going to add to it.
Thank you. And I do agree with you. Cornelius's passing was before George Floyd passing. We saw that horrific situation and what has imploded from that. And I feel, just in my opinion, that Cornelius, his campaign should be just like George Floyd's. Cornelius should be the George Floyd of juvenile justice when we talk about bringing that change. So I agree with you. In order to make that change, it's going to be on that magnitude, because we have all these connections from different states and across the water. So I appreciate all of you. T?
Yeah, just to add on to that, yeah, we just need to keep talking about it. I know that last summer, the protests, I think that I carried a Cornelius sign. I think that maybe you did too. I don't know if we ran into each other. But it was amazing how few people had any idea who Cornelius was. So many people out in the streets chanting, say his name. So many people knew all of, these other folks' names, and nobody knew what had happened just, a month before in our own little town. So we just need to keep talking about it. I didn't have a question. I just wanted to really quick pop in and ask folks who, if they didn't see the chat, to put their email address in the chat, either publicly or directly to me if you don't want it to be available to everyone, because we will be sending out a follow-up email, and that'll have information about the organizations that are here with us today, updates on the legislation that we've talked about, upcoming actions, and also where we're at with the mural planning process. So if you folks are interested, please share your email. Thank you.
And then before I get to you, Candace, also there is speculation, we haven't been able to find that information out, if Cornelius actually has a headstone. So that's one that a lot of folks are inquiring about, because there are folks that want to donate to that. So there's different ways that we are able to honor Cornelius. So we are actively trying to find out if Cornelius has a headstone and if he's actually buried somewhere for that headstone to be placed. So stay tuned for that, because we are going to be fundraising for that, along with the mural installation project that Miranda was talking about earlier. Candace, I see you've been waiting patiently.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I did not know Cornelius. I have never met him, but when I heard about his story last year, I might end up crying because when I think about it, that's all I could do. I just couldn't believe those grown men treated that little kid like that. And it breaks my heart because he should be here with us today. We should not have to be remembering him for throwing a piece of bread in the cafeteria that kids do every day in a cafeteria. And I do have a page for him on the Facebook. It's called Justice for Cornelius Fredrick. I also started a Headstone, a GoFundMe for him. We're actually almost done with the money for the headstone. He should have his headstone no later than June, before his birthday in July. I went to visit him at his gravesite, and when I went on his birthday last year. There was not a flower, there was not a balloon, there was not a headstone, there was nothing. And that broke me down. And I have a son that reminds me of Cornelius. And I tell everybody, Cornelius is my son too. Even though I never met him, deep down in my heart, he is my son too. I love him, even though I've never met him. And I think about Cornelius every single day, every day. And on Saturday, me and another lady that's on our group, I go down to his grave. I just go visit him. We just go talk. We just say a prayer for him and everything. And on Saturday, we're going down to clean up his gravesite, put him new flowers, get him balloons and everything. I even have t-shirts that I make for him that I don't profit off of it. I pay for it myself and I ship it to people that needs it. So if you guys, he do have a GoFundMe page. It's Headstone for Cornelius Fredrick. And if you would like to go visit his Facebook page, I try to put everything on there that I find out about what's going on with the case, and just even if I just wake up and I'm just thinking about him, I just put it on there to let people know I'm thinking about Cornelius. I would never forget Corn, ever. And I wish I got the chance to meet him.
Ooh, you're gonna make me cry.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Say that. I just, it just breaks my heart every time I think about Corn.
Thank you. I've just put the links in the chat, and
I
then we
just
will
wanted
also
to
share that
let
with
you guys
everyone
know
in
that.
follow-up.
All right. Thank you guys so much. And I really appreciate you guys letting me be a part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Candace.
Okay.
Whew. Wow. We have definitely gone over time, but it is not without being informed and showing support and love for one another. I appreciate all of you staying on, your grace and patience with the technology snafus, and just making sure that everyone was heard tonight. There's plenty of information in the chat for you all to jot down, but please put your email addresses in the chat box and we will send you follow-up information. This is not a one-done meeting. We had a meeting week before when the verdict of the Shaven verdict came out, and there was a community conversation around that. There's definitely some action items that we all can partake in. Some of it is going to require us to write our legislators a lot. And some of it's going to require us to be out in the streets. But one way we can keep in contact with one another is through the chat. You leave your email address. And Miranda, any of our other speakers, if you have anything like 30 seconds or less, you want to like wrap things up so we can let people go about their evenings. I see all the messages going in chat. That is wonderful. I appreciate everyone from Kalamazoo, everyone from outside of Kalamazoo coming on the call. One of the things that I wanted to uplift that T said is that we live in the community where Cornelius lost his life, and there's a lot of members in our own backyard that do not know the story of what's going on. And partly is because of media. If we are to keep sharing our stories, we keep sharing those on our own platforms, we are able to keep ourselves informed. Many of us that live in Kalamazoo ride past Oakland Drive and see that golf course next to Lakeside. You would never think the heinous things that were going on behind closed doors, because the information that is shared with us is gatekept by the media and the people that are in leadership, not only in Kalamazoo, but other communities. But again, like so many people have said, when a child has put out a call of distress, we on the outside as adults, we need to do everything that we can in our power to make sure that we're keeping our children safe. And one thing is like Diamond has said so many times before, is holding people's feet to the fire. And those people are the folks that we elect into office. Those people that the elected officials appointed to do tasks. So many of us have homework to do, and that's in the form of research, finding out who is your governor, find out who is on some of these boards. And if you don't know that, if you need help, support in finding that, please make sure you share your email address in there, and we can work together to make sure that that we are all on the same page with the same information at the same time, so we can get to the same transformation that we need for this juvenile system. So with that, if no one else has anything else to share, I thank you so much for being a part of this virtual memorial for Cornelius Fredrick. There will, I'm sure, be more community conversations, but definitely roll your sleeves up, literally, because it's time to do some work. That's right.
Thank you.
Miranda.
Appreciate you. Thank you for
Yes.
having this for him today. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it. And I will never, ever forget about Cornelius.
Thank
And I wanted to
you.
tell you guys, I also, when I had found out, I ordered a tree from the cemetery he's buried at, and they planted my tree for him. So he also has a tree in his memory.
Oh, that's lovely.
Share where
Yes.
Thank you.
is.
Yes, I will, because I'm trying to go to it. So I will get that and I will share it to you guys, to everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Beautiful. Thank you. Everyone.
Oh, you guys are more
Thank
than
you.
welcome. Anything for corn, you guys have my information. I will always be there.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
All right, with that, I'd like to bid you all happy evening. And I guess if we can do a collective before we go on the count of 3. No peace, no justice. I mean, no justice, no peace.
No justice, no peace.
No justice,
No
no peace.
justice, no
No
peace.
peace. No
No
justice, no
justice,
peace.
no peace.
No justice, no peace.
3.
No
No
justice.
justice, no peace.
Peace.
No
peace.
justice, no
No
peace.
justice, no peace.
Love you guys.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Be safe, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
What's up, Pimpin'?
Justice, folks. Yeah, stay on the call.
What?
No, my